But
We
in
cannot
terms
pinpoint.
of specifically artificial island building, which NST ADG Malaya is already jumping to, he said that perhaps there is a plan there, there's intent to turn that into a low tide elevation, thereby reversing the 2016 arbitral ruling. Apart from the piles of rubble, what other evidence did we see of artificial island building potentially whilst we were there?
Um, Apart from that, I think there is none. But the fact that when we look at satellite map, that there are already so many islands built by China, right? And many of these are too close already. And within the EEZ, then also there are many reports that we can read, we can search online that the amount of island building that China is doing is so high, like a tune of million of square meters in 3 years' time, something like that, based on some of these reports. And then also the fact, I think that many of these islands now, supposedly like the K-ones, they keep saying that China, that this is naturally formed. But when in fact, when we look at it, it seems like it's not naturally formed. So there are a lot of suspicious things, like in terms of what they're saying and in terms of we can see. So we don't really know sometimes the entire story, because all we really need is a picture of if it was China doing that, the picture of them dumping, but we don't have that.
I remember we were also trying to identify where they come from. Have you seen those corals in other places? For example, yung dead corals, ginagamit ba talaga yun sa island reclamation? The corals underneath, I think we were also, that's why we got samples, right? To be able to identify at least where they belong.
Well, the samples is really just to identify what sort of species. And because what we did when we went underwater, we also kind of photographed all the species that we found. So kind of to match the corals on the pile of rubble and then the corals that we see underwater.
Pero yung corals sa taas, ginagamit ba yun for reclamation activities? Would you know?
The corals sa taas were
Yung dumped corals?
Dead corals.
Yeah, I think so, because when there's I'd look at a few publications by the Chinese Academy of Science talking about the reclamation that they did in Kalayaan Island Group, and they even pointed the map of where they did it, and it's called hydraulic kind of reclamation. And when you look at this process and the images they show, it's kind of like that. There's layers of sand and rubble. So I think that there's already a technology that they did, and they already published that. So they know that the technology of how they built, and they already published that online, right, in journals, how they built islands in the. So we kind of know the details of what are the components of island building in terms of coral, sand, etc., and the various layers.